We're going to talk about all 20 of the horror nominees for the Goodreads Choice Awards. Here's one stack, and here's another. So we have lots of books. I'm scared. Not because of the books being horror, but I feel like I've picked up the ones that I was already interested in for the most part. But last time I did this, I found a new favorite book of the year, so fingers crossed this goes well. I do have some absolute favorites from this list. They're ones I've previously read. Very excited to chat with you about them. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get to reading. I've started The Book of Witching by C.J. Cook. I have a mixed history with C.J. Cook. So I read The Lighthouse Witches, I don't know, 2-3 years ago at this point. I think it would have been in 2022 when it came out, so like in the fall, so about 2 years. And I really, really enjoyed that one. And then in probably early 2024, I read The Nesting and I DNF'd it. I thought it was so boring. And like in my brain, maybe there's another book that I've tried to read from C.J. Cook, but I cannot remember. In my possibly pretend memory, I didn't like it either, but maybe I'm just telling the future and I don't like this. And I knew that that was going to be the case based on this premonition that I had. Dear Lord, where am I going with this? I have made it 115 pages in, which is about a third, and I'm gonna DNF this one. This is so historical. I'm bored. I'm so bored, and I don't care about what's going on. So we're following a character in May 2024 and January 1594. No, that's too far back. I don't want to read it. It's boring. I don't like the style of existence in 1594 apparently. I don't like it. I'm not interested in it. I don't want to read about this time period when everybody's accused of being witches and it's a boring way of talking about it. I don't tend to love historical fiction, and this is too focused on that. So in the long time ago, we're following a woman who is accused of being a witch and contacting these demons or something, working with the devil. And at the beginning, we're watching her mom induct her 2 kids into this cult or something seeming like a cult, possibly magic. It's not clear at this point. And then in the present day, we are following a woman whose daughter is in a coma at the hospital, and she was involved in a fire. She's in medically induced coma because of her burns. And it was her and 2 other people, her boyfriend who died in the fire, and then her friend who was also there, and now she's missing. So we don't know what caused this fire to happen. We don't know where her friend is. Did her friend start the fire and run away? Did something happen? We know that there were fights and arguments between different people, so parents of different people are accusing everybody else. And that stuff is interesting enough, but like we're not getting enough of that. And I don't really want to read these parents arguing with each other. And I get it. I get that if something like this happens, you are going to want to possibly accuse the one that is there and alive. But at the same time, I just don't care. The most exciting thing is that when her daughter wakes up from the coma, it says it on the back, she is like, I'm not, what's her name? Erin, I'm Nyx. And she's freaking out. But not exciting enough for me to want to continue. I'm so sorry. I was nervous about this one because I have DNF'd a book from this author, and knowing this one was historical made me really scared for it, and I was correct. But I figured I'd still give it a go just in case I loved it. We don't exactly know how these 2 storylines are connected and what is going on in each of them, obviously, but I will never know. I wish I loved this one, but it's gonna be a DNF for me. Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle, one of my favorite books of 2024. In this, we are following our main character who is working on a TV show. The series finale is about to be filmed, but the executives come in and they're like, hey, these 2 gay characters that you've been setting up this whole time, that can't happen, so you have to kill one of them or you're fired. And he's like, I hate that trope, I don't want to do that, and he's kind of grappling with it. And then weird things start to happen in his life. He's also written horror movies, and it seems like the characters might be following him. So a lot of conversation about the bury your gaze trope. There's a lot of conversation about AI in here. I truly loved this one. 5 stars. I've started The Bog Wife. This one was a little not intimidating for me because like this book is not intimidating really in any sense for me personally, but I DNF'd Desert Creatures by this author. I guess it was early last year because I did think it was really boring, and this one kind of sounds boring, but also weird, and it kind of is both of those things, but I am 165 pages in and didn't realize that I had made it that far. Part of it is because I've been obsessed with doing puzzles recently, and the combination of puzzles and audiobooks is just truly perfect. It just works so well in my brain, and it's something that I want to get back to doing. Like, I'm sitting here thinking like, the puzzle. Maybe I should go do other things, but I think I'm gonna just listen to this more and work on my puzzle. Here's my current progress. This one's a lot easier than the last one I was doing. So anyway, this is about this family that they have to raise a woman from the bog and marry her. It's weird because they're like, the thing you should do, dear oldest son, is when your father dies, bury him. There's this whole ritual. Go out into the bog naked and get it on with this bog lady that just comes out of the ground, and then you're gonna have a kid and start a family. What? What? Why do you believe that? I mean, I guess it's true because they all are like, yeah, our mom came from the swamp. She rose out like Shrek. Also, I'm sure there's a difference between a swamp and a bog. They have said swamp and bog, but I don't know. But this is a lot of just these family dynamics. They are very isolated, both because of their location and also by choice. Well, like the family's choice, and people don't really know any different. But yeah, they're like preparing for the father to die because he's sick, but they don't go to doctors. But the thing is too, I don't even know what the synopsis says, but like the oldest son had a tree. I'm sorry, this isn't funny. He had a tree fall on his room and mess up his penis. So he, oh my god. So like, that's a plot point where he's like, well, now I have to have a kid, so I should see if my penis still works. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll watch you just go to the doctor and say, yeah, a tree fell on me 10 months ago and I didn't go to the doctor, but can I have kids? Like, okay. So that's a choice. And then we are also following the one daughter who left 10 years ago, but she was called back to do this ritual when her father was dying so that they could get another bog wife. And then there's this other way to get a bog wife. I'm so sorry. This is so funny. So the one kid, well, they're not kids. The one child, like sibling, they're all adults, goes to the bog to like forge for his wife parts to bury and then sit with her in the forest for 100 days, and then a woman's gonna come out of the marsh. Oh my god. The thing is, this sounds kind of like a silly funny time while I'm talking about it, but it's kind of boring. Nothing is really happening other than them interacting with each other and kind of realizing that they don't really know anything outside of their lives other than what they were taught and then what Wenna has shared when she has come back. She had this weird relationship with this guy and she was struggling to adjust to real life, I guess. And then she goes back to the family and ends up staying longer than planned. So it's all a strange time, but they're just kind of talking to each other about making a bog woman and how normal they think that is. And I don't really get it. Like, are we supposed to believe, I've been talking about this for so long, are we supposed to believe that this is real and that's like what's happening? Or are they like kidnapping women? Or like what is the situation? But can you imagine thinking that you're just gonna go to the woods naked and find your wife? can't. I have finished The Bog Wife. I don't know what it says about me that I thought this was funny. Oh my god. Okay. For starters, I did not like it. It's trying to be weird but not funny, but I thought the weird choices were funny because they were so strange. I think that the exploration of trauma and like family issues and things like that was fine. And like that stuff specifically wasn't funny. But I don't know. You're the things that happen. I don't know. I get it because if you are raised in this situation and that's all you know, like, what are you supposed to do? But I'm awful. I'm so bad. This is not supposed to be a funny book, but the choices just felt silly. And silly in like, oh kind of way, not like, haha, the author's so funny, like she was trying to be. I don't know if Kay Chronister is for me, considering the first book I read from her, I DNF'd. This book is 2 stars. It was a very easy read, but the thing is, I question that. I think I just enjoyed working on my puzzle, so it went by quickly. I think if I wasn't so invested in that, I would not have sped through this like I did. Like, I truly read this so fast because of listening to the audiobook and doing the puzzle. And I don't know, I just felt like it was silly, but not an intentional silly. And obviously it's supposed to be weird. It's not saying that the stuff that's happening isn't weird, but there's just something about it. I was personally laughing. I should not. I'm so sorry. But that's how I felt. And yep, oh my god, there's a lot these characters deal with that is important. And I'm sure that there's some like brainwashed people that maybe don't believe that like they can make a wife from the bog. But I don't know, there's something sad about your parents just being able to tell you these things and believing them and you not having a reason to question it, and then finding out that you've been lied to for so long, or maybe the people before your parents, just like things passed down between families. So it wasn't bad, but I didn't like the choices that were made. I think if you're interested in this, might as well give it a go, right? But I wouldn't specifically recommend it either. I didn't love the choices that were made in here. So yeah, even though I read it quickly and found it entertaining, even though, anyway, 2 stars for The Bog Wife. Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman. I give this one 4 stars. There were so many really creepy elements in this. We are following a young girl who sees an entity in her closet that she calls Other Mommy. And at first she thinks Other Mommy is a friend, and then she starts to ask her for things and she gets more scared, and then her family finds out and they are kind of on the run from Other Mommy. Seriously, such creepy elements in here. I was a bit annoyed at some of the character portrayals, and I think it got a little bit repetitive, but I liked what this book was saying, and overall I had a really fun time with it. What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. This one is one that I gave 3.5 stars. I believe it is the sequel to What Moves the Dead, which I gave 5 stars, so obviously I liked that one a lot more. In this one we are following our main character who is recovering after the events of the first book, and they go back to their estate to find that the groundskeeper is dead. And everybody in the town is very suspicious about it. Nobody wants to answer any questions. And then weird things start to happen within the house. I don't know if this series is continuing. I might try another one, but I don't necessarily need any more of this story. But it's a super quick one, and I generally would recommend it. Hello. I am here to talk about You Like It Darker by Stephen King. This is a short story collection. There are 12 short stories in it, and it is 500 pages long. The audiobook is 20 hours, and I am going to DNF it. Did I make it 10 pages in? Yes, but I have some reasons for this. One, I don't tend to love Stephen King's books. The thing is, I do have one of my all-time favorite books as, well, that was a weird way to say that. As one of his books, one of his favorite books is, no, I mean, maybe it's one of his favorite books. One of his books, 11/22/63, is one of my, like, all-time favorite books. But I've had a lot of not great experiences with his stuff either. I don't really like short story collections, which is my main issue. And I started it and I'm like, I actually don't care. What did I get? Yeah, I got like 13 pages in. And between not having a great history with his books, like one of my least favorite books of all time is also by Stephen King. So like I have a mixed history with him. I have a very mixed history leaning towards not really liking short story collections. It's too long. There's just, I don't want to read it. I don't think I'm going to like it. And did this win? Yeah. I can't do it. Like, I actually was not reading because I didn't want to read this book. So the situation with that is I'm DNFing this, and that means I'm also not going to read A Sunny Place for Shady People by Mariana Enriquez because it is also a short story collection, significantly shorter, but I didn't like her previous novel. I really liked certain aspects of it, but it was too long and drawn out and boring, and like obviously this would have the opposite problem, but people that have loved that from her still haven't liked this. And I've had people tell me that I shouldn't read it. The two people I'm pretty sure disliked this that either liked short stories or liked her previous book, or both, I have no idea actually, are Deb from DG Reads and Gabby from Gabby Reads. So if I don't like short stories and haven't liked from the author, I just like both of these. I'm just not going to force myself to read something I don't want to read. So I will not be giving you reviews on these two. There are tons of other people you can go to if you want short story collection reviews. This generally is not the place for that. I wish I liked them, but I struggle to start books and like getting into them, and short stories are just that's all it is. The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim, a 5-star read from me, another favorite of 2024. In this, we are following a family who is dealing with the aftermath of the father leaving, and for our main character to kind of help her mom get back to who she was, she decides that she's going to grant her mother's request and eat the fish eyeball at dinner. After that, she becomes very obsessed with eating and thinking about eyeballs. This book disturbed me. I ate a cherry tomato recently and had flashbacks to this book and had to stop eating for a little bit. It's disgusting. The family dynamics are so frustrating, and it's an incredible read. Murder Road by Simone St. James. I personally think that this is a thriller. I've said it multiple times at this point. I believe I gave this one 3 stars. I think that for what it was a decent time. I know a lot of people hate this a lot more than I did, but I think if you read it like it's a thriller, it makes more sense. There are ghosts in it, but I don't believe that ghosts inherently mean it's a horror book. I think it's about the way the story is told, and in this one, the focus is solving this mystery, and it really just does not feel like a horror book to me. We are following this couple that's going on their honeymoon. They are driving down the road, and they find somebody who is in critical condition trying to get help. They decide to help her, and then they become part of this investigation where they are suspects and they are trying to clear their name. I started this is not My Heart is a Chainsaw. I started The Angel of Indian Lake, which is the third in the, what is the series called? Indian Lake trilogy. So the first one, My Heart is a Chainsaw, was one of my favorite books the year that I read it. It was a big surprise to me because I knew what the story was. I knew that it was very character focused, following this character Jade, who is really obsessed with slasher movies. And while I like slasher movies, I'm not invested in them in nearly the same way she is. I haven't seen a lot of them. I haven't seen a lot of movies in general, other than like newer things going to the theater, because I like the act of going to the movie theater. So I was really worried that I was not going to connect with the book and really enjoy it. but I was truly obsessed. And then last year, I guess it was for this video, I read the second book and I gave it 4 stars, but it was, I feel like, just barely 4 stars for me. I didn't like that one nearly as much. We weren't really following Jade to the extent that we were in the first one. And she was just very different, which makes sense because she went through a lot in the first one, and then there were some things that happened, but I just wasn't as obsessed with her. This one feels more like the first one, both with Jade as a character and the way that everything is told. We're not getting as much of the other stuff that we got in the second book. I think because the second book was kind of the way that it was, I'm not as invested in this one either. So this is like the final hurrah for Jade in Proof Rock, where everything has happened to her. So in the first one, she believes that she's part of a slasher movie, and then following that, she is trying to help her town, the people that she has grown up with. This place that didn't treat her how she should have been treated, but she still feels connected to it and wants to defend it from these different slashers. This town kind of has accepted at this point that it has some things going on that maybe are not natural. But Jade once again finds herself in this situation. So it's been 4 years since Jade has been here again. And then I believe it's 4 people that are found murdered at the beginning, and she decides that she is going to help everybody figure out what happened and what is going on in this town. She kind of believes that she's the only person that can truly figure out what is happening. So it is following that storyline. There's been a lot of like gore and violence, and the way that it is told does feel like the other two, which is a little bit like disjointed almost. But really I'm not obsessed with it, and I'm just so upset because I loved the first one, but the other two just haven't been as perfect for me. And I really think that I would be liking this one more if I had read them all closer together, or if the second one was more similar to the first one. Once again, I understand why there were changes made, but I just feel removed from everything. And I don't know if I love the time jumps either, but I really like being back with Jade. I like seeing her thought process. In the first one, she is writing these letters to her history teacher. It's like a school project thing, and it's fun because she still does that some in this one. And then we're also getting these outside transcripts like about Jade and things that she has gone through and how that impacts what people think is happening in the current situation. There's also commentary on how Indigenous people are treated and have been treated in the past, so I enjoy that in pretty much all of Stephen Graham Jones' stuff. So I am enjoying it, but it's not living up to My Heart is a Chainsaw, which I didn't really expect it to, but I do really, really like being back with Jade again. Hello, it is late. I am tired. I just drove an hour one way to get dinner with Monica, and it was a lot of fun, but we talked for a very long time, and it's later than I thought it was going to be. But I have finished The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones. Also, the publisher very, very kindly sent me the paperback when it came out, which I love because now I own the completed trilogy, which makes me personally very happy. So, okay, I am gonna give this one 3 stars. So, my history with this trilogy, My Heart is a Chainsaw, 5 stars, one of my favorite books the year that I read it. I really loved it. It surprised me because I knew it was a more character-focused story, but also I have loved and disliked from Stephen Graham Jones, but generally I really, really enjoy his books. So 5 stars for this. Then for the Goodreads Choice Awards for 2023, I read Don't Fear the Reaper, and I gave it 4 stars at the time, but the more I think about it, really it is a 3-star read for me. This one had a lot more perspectives in it. It had a lot of other things going on that I personally didn't love, and I really missed Jade as a character, even though she was still in it. The thing is, people that don't love My Heart is a Chainsaw tend to like this one. Very, very different vibes. So The Angel of Indian Lake goes back to the first one. We are primarily in Jade's head, but this was too long. It was, I thought at 50% it could end. And these chapters were long, like long. And I was like, okay, we could wrap up pretty much at the end of like every other chapter. It did not need to be this long. The audiobook was about 16 hours. And I just really don't think that that was necessary for this story. So I'm gonna give it 3 stars. There were moments that I really liked. I liked how Jade's story wrapped up. I liked seeing her more so who she was in the first one. The conversations on obsession and how that can be something that you use to kind of delve into other worlds when your life is not what you want it to be. And the idea of a final girl and what that means for a character, how she has processed all this trauma in her personal life and things in her community and things that have happened to her people. I liked a lot of the discussions in it. There's some good gore in here. There's some interesting things that are going on, but absolutely too long for me, which was one of my complaints about Don't Fear the Reaper as well. This trilogy is a very stream of consciousness, kind of rambly style of book. I really, truly loved the first one. Just because I didn't enjoy the other two as much does not mean that that has like taken away my enjoyment from the first one. I didn't need the other two, but also I really like Stephen Graham Jones. His stories that he tells, the things he's talking about, the interesting way that he's doing that. So I am glad that I read all 3, but 5 stars for me for the first one and then 3 for the other 2. Sleep Tight by J.H. Markert. This is one that I have mixed feelings about. I gave it 3 or 3.5 stars, but it's definitely not one that has stuck with me. I've loved a book from this author previously, but this one just left me questioning some things. We are following somebody who is the sole survivor of a serial killer, and now more murders are happening, and she is the only person that apparently can help this case be solved. She is starting to do some of the investigating. Honestly, I think this one was very forgettable. I can't tell you what happened past that. Oh, her daughter is kidnapped by this new person, which is how she gets involved. Truly forgettable, but I did read this when I read Goodreads Choice Awards nominees from my shelves. So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison is one that is very different from what I expected, but not at the same time. In this, we are following 2 friends who are going on a birthday vacation. Our main character's husband has set this up, but he doesn't go on this birthday trip, and she is grappling with their relationship. And she goes, and her friend is very into partying and convinces her to go to this party. They end up coming into contact with some vampires and getting themselves in a bloody situation. This one is more slower paced, and it is about the different relationship and friendship dynamics and our main character kind of coming to terms with things, which is very typical of Rachel Harrison, but something to know going in. I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It was a little bit disappointing for me because I've been truly obsessed with multiple of his books previously. This one, I just felt disconnected from the story. I felt like I was hovering over everything and watching it instead of really being immersed in it. I liked the concept of it, but for some reason, just, I don't know, parts of it fell flat for me. This was a 5-star prediction for me, and I'm still upset that it did not get 5 stars from me. But we are watching a slasher from the point of view of a slasher in this small town. Oh, where's my book? I have so many things on my desk because I've been packing bookmarks for Escape the Readathon. Actually, I'm going to show them to you. So if you are not aware, I host a competitive team-based readathon that happens in May called Escape the Readathon, where there are 4 teams competing to be the one to escape this certain situation. This year is a cruise where an evil person has brought all of these different teams here to kind of test their skills, make them play these games, and one team will get to escape at the end. There's also victims being taken. It's a whole thing. So the bookmarks are all tickets. If you participated last year, they were also tickets, but they look very different in vibes. But these are the colors of all of them. It's not in order, but we have a sunset vibe going on. So the 4 teams that we have are the hackers, and this is the bookmark. Then we have the podcasters with this bookmark. So they're all tickets and have like another item on them. So we have a web page, cassette tape. Then we have the detectives that have their little notebook. And then the mediums, and there's a Ouija board. So I am truly obsessed with these, and I've been sitting here putting return labels and little stickers saying not to bend on packaging, getting some more things set up, wrapping the bookmarks. They all come like wrapped so that they don't scratch in the mail. The cruise is the Orange Cat Cruise. Last year was the Black Cat Carnival for my cat Nova. This year is for my cat Winston, who is orange. So I've been wrapping those up and doing all of this, and I've been listening to the audiobook of This Cursed House. And I just got to chapter 12. I've been listening to the audiobook, which I do enjoy. So I'm 130 pages in. I would like... I really want to say something specific, but I don't want to spoil the book for you because it's like a little reveal, not just like a casual thing that happens. So we are following Gemma, and this is set in 1962. And Gemma is 27, and she has been cheated on by her husband, well, fiance, and he gets another woman pregnant. And she's kind of expected to just accept it because that's how men are. But she's like, no, absolutely not. And then she's staying with her friend for like 2 days and then gets a letter in the mail saying, we would love to have you. You're the perfect fit for this position that we have. And she works at a school. She's a teacher. And she's like, perfect. I would be a great tutor. And it pays really well. There's board included, like meals and things. So I'm going to take it. And she gets there. And she's like, where's the kid? And they're like, what are you talking about? So then she very quickly realizes that she has been brought there for reasons other than what she anticipated. So she's traveling to this job for the Duchamp family in New Orleans. So the synopsis says that she discovers that the Duchamp family isn't what it seems. Light enough to pass as white, the black family members look down on brown-skinned Gemma. And then this is the reason they invited her, but I wasn't sure if it was in the synopsis. They invited her because their family is cursed and they believe that she's the only person that can free them. So she is trying to decide what to do, what's going on with that. There's also this like aspect where she can interact with ghosts in some sort of way, but I'm not really sure how that's going to play into the story. I think it's very engaging so far. It's a little slower paced because it's set in this house. Nobody can really leave. And it's just these interactions between characters. And a lot of them suck and have very outdated opinions. I mean, yes, this is set in 62, but our main character feels that they have very outdated opinions for the time as well. Especially the fact that they are acting like she is not good enough because she has darker skin than them. And I think that that is still a very relevant, sadly, conversation to have. There is white privilege that happens, and that is slightly extended to people who are white passing, lighter colored in general. So I like the discussion on that. I can't tell you specifically why I'm saying this, but the fact that this family believes that something else that they are doing, well, really anything, but this specifically is better than having dark skin. It's unhinged. So on that note, I am going to keep packing stuff, listening to the audiobook of this. I'm having a good time with it, and I'm really interested to see where a few different aspects of this book are going to go, because there's the curse, there's some ghost stuff, there's family drama, there's another thing. And I don't know how it's all going to fit together in the end, because there's a lot of little things going on, but it's good. It's engaging and messed up. Another day sitting at this desk still packing bookmarks, which I'm going to continue to do while we talk, but I am 250 pages into this Cursed House, and I think that this one has been really interesting for the discussions that it is having. There's a lot of talk about generational trauma. This family, they only have each other to deal with. They don't really interact with anybody but the doctor in the public, and they have some interesting quirks as a family. The discussions surrounding the like hierarchy in a family and who gets to decide what is happening and how that can impact certain people, and there's just some more stuff that I can't talk about because of spoilers. And there's also a lot of discussion on racism and colorism and really how our main character was never going to be good enough for this family because of the darkness of her skin, even though they're all black. I think the discussions themselves are good and interesting and have brought up a lot of like different nuances, but I think the plot itself is a little slower paced than I wanted it to be, which like kind of makes sense. This feels like it's supposed to be a Southern Gothic book, but I think there's just been a little too much of people just like chatting around the house. Nothing is really changing, which makes sense with this story, but it's not quite as like engaging in the plot sense as I want it to be. I even wish that there was like maybe just something more with the ghost situation that is going on. It has come to the forefront a little bit more, but it's still just, I don't know, slightly not off in terms of how the book is done, but off from my personal taste. That being said, I am liking it. It's been not a favorite, but one I'm definitely enjoying. The lighting in my house is truly so awful. So, sorry about that. No matter what I do, it doesn't get any better. I will figure my life out at some point. Maybe. I have finished this Cursed House, and I'm gonna give this one 3 stars. I think that this book didn't feel very cohesive. So in the first part, really the first 2/3, we are following, oh, I forget her name already. Gemma. Oh, okay, I was correct. We're following her trying to figure out this family curse. And then the last third of this switches to focus on a different story. And it was slightly part of it. And like, it makes sense, but I wish that the way that everything was weaved together was just actually weaved together instead of it feeling like, okay, here's one part of the story and then here's the second part of the story. I didn't really think that they meshed together in any way, and I think that that would have improved the story for me because it almost felt like we were starting over at a certain point. And that is why this was 3 stars instead of 4 stars. I really liked a lot of the discussions in here. There's so much generational trauma that is dealt with in this, and I think that they're all really great discussions to have. I wish there was a little bit more ghost stuff in here. There was a decent amount, but I think that it could have been integrated into the story a little bit more. So I'm looking, and this is Del Sandine's debut, and I feel like I can kind of tell that, but I would read more from her. I think she has a lot of really interesting ideas, and I think that the structure maybe could be improved upon, but that's like obviously something that you can change, and things can happen differently obviously in other books that people write. Oh, okay. It's been a very, very, very long day, so I am going to go lay in bed. I'm excited that I read this. I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about it, but I'm glad that I read this one. I am always down to try these kind of curses and ghost stories. Diavola by Jennifer Thorne is one that truly, truly surprised me. I gave this author's previous book 2 stars, and I thought it was so boring, but this one, I'm obsessed with it. I gave it 5 stars, one of my favorite books of 2024. This one is following a family going on vacation, and they have awful relationships. I hated all of them, and then our main character starts to experience some weird things, and it seems like there might be a ghost there. The family in here I wanted to strangle them, but it was done so well. The ghost story in this was so interesting and felt very unique because partway through we get a shift that I wasn't sure I was going to like, but I really, really loved. I am excited for more from Jennifer Thorne, even though I did not think that I would be saying that. If you like ghost stories or books with family dynamics, highly recommend this 5-star read. Blood Like Mine is one that I really did not like. I believe I gave this book 1 star. I truly have blocked most of it out of my mind, but I think this one was really, really boring for me personally. In this one, we are following a mother and daughter who are on the run, and we're also following an FBI agent who is trying to find a serial killer. We very quickly put together the fact that the mother and daughter are the serial killers. I don't think I like this kind of crime fiction. It was really slow. It was really boring. I didn't like any of the characters. I read this when I read all 21 of the Barnes & Noble best horror books, if you want more thoughts. I am wearing my Orange Cat Cruise sweatshirt. And also, I just wanted to show you said orange cat. He's so cute there. Well, he's cute everywhere. So last night I started Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina. I read his previous book for the last Goodreads video that I did for 2023's version, and I gave it 3 stars, but like thinking back on it, I really didn't love it. So I was a little apprehensive about this one. I read 30 pages. I got to chapter 5 and I am going to DNF this one. I have some issues with the way that certain characters are talked about. I don't know how to talk about this because like, yeah, there are not good characters in books and there are different ways of talking in different time periods, but I'm really sick of the way that people are talked about based on their appearance and that translating to them being disgusting. Like, just because somebody is fat does not mean that they're gross, and that is just kind of already being implied. There's also been some comments about people's like mental capacities, and I really don't like that stuff. And I was like, well, maybe it'll go away. I don't know about the mental stuff and the comments on that, but the fat phobia is apparently really bad in this, and I just don't want to read that. So in this, we are following Noemi and Louis, and they are in 2 different timelines. Louis is in both. Well, I guess Noemi technically is, but she's like a baby in the one. So Louis is Noemi's uncle, and he has been gone for a while in the present day, and he comes back for a powwow, I believe. And apparently there's some like significance in him specifically wanting to be there for that. I know there's significance in a powwow in general. He didn't want to miss it for something, which I'm assuming we're going to learn in the past, but his character in the past sucks. And it's like not in a way where I'm like enjoying hating him. Like, he's not supposed to be a bad character, I don't think. And it's just, I don't know. I don't like it at all. I just, anytime we're in his perspective, I want to quit. I am interested in Noemi's because she is dealing with the fact that her boyfriend might have jumped out in front of a car and he did die as a result of this. There's also been some weird things in Louis' perspective where there's like bodies sitting up at funerals and things like that. And that could be interesting enough, but I just can't read something where I'm actively disliking it in this way. So I will be DNFing this one. I might not read more from Nick Medina. I think he has some interesting concepts, but his execution's not really for me. And I don't think I really enjoy his writing style either. So a DNF for this one. I did get 11% in. Sadly, it didn't work for me, but you know, it's fine, I guess. House of Bone and Rain by Gabino Iglesias is one that I personally DNF'd. I think I made it 20-ish% into this book. It's not one that I thought was specifically bad, but it's just not my kind of horror. I don't love books where the plot is violence. I don't think that this book had anything bad that it was saying or doing. But for my personal taste, I don't love the plot being focused on doing violent things, even though it doesn't bother me if violent things happen. I hope that makes sense, but this one just wasn't a personal favorite. In this, we are following a group of friends who are going to get revenge because one of their moms was murdered by some sort of people related to drugs. I initially read this in the Barnes & Noble Top 21 Horror of 2024, so you can see more thoughts there. We Used to Live Here by Marcus Klewer, a 5-star book for me. This one so many people love, and I completely understand why. We are following our main character who is at home waiting for her girlfriend to come home, and this family shows up, rings the doorbell, and the father's like, hey, I used to live here, can I show my family around? And she's very hesitant, but ends up letting them in because she feels guilty. Once they're in there, it's supposed to be a very quick thing, but the daughter runs away and gets lost in the house, and weird things start to happen coming from that. This one was so tense and stressful, and I had such a fun time with it. I am so creeped out by people existing in my house. I wouldn't let them in, but also I get the anxiety that comes from this situation. It's a weird one. It's so strange, but I truly loved it. Absolutely 5 stars. Sorry you can see the reflection of the window in my glasses, but you know I wear glasses, so it is what it is. I have made it 100 pages into my Darling Dreadful Thing by Joanna Van Veen. I believe that's how the audiobook narrator said it. This is a gothic story, and is this a debut? Apparently she's a triplet. That's in the thing in the back. I don't know. It doesn't really say. But I have not read from this author before. I hadn't heard of this author until this book. So maybe it's a debut, maybe it's not. Also, I'm sitting here working on my diamond painting. I go through phases of things that I do while I listen to audiobooks. For a little bit, I was coloring. Then for a while, I was working on puzzles. And now I'm back to diamond painting. I kind of like rotate through those things. Anyway, the book. I think I'm probably 25% in, but there's 3 parts in here, so I figured I would update you then. So in this, we are following Ruse, and she has this spirit companion that has pretty much been with her entire life, and her name is Ruth. And at the beginning, we are watching Ruse and her mom pretty much having like a scam artist thing where they invite people in and offer them to like talk to their loved ones who have passed. But instead of that actually happening, Ruth just kind of possesses Ruse, and is it Ruse or Ruse? I don't know. Kind of possesses her and then pretends to be the dead loved ones. I don't know if she has some sort of connection to everything. So we are watching that happen, and she has been dead for centuries and is kind of the center of our main character's life. And then somebody comes to have a seance, and there's this like weird situation between our main character and her. Her name is Agnes, and then she ends up inviting her to live at her home. Agnes is a wealthy young widow, and then they have this connection. And Agnes lives in a crumbling estate that she inherited when her husband died. And there is definitely some sort of like ghost activity at this place. And that is kind of what they bonded over when they first met. And then we know that somebody is murdered. So in this, there's the, I guess, present day. Well, I guess it's in the past because there's these case episodes that we are getting, and those are like more the present day, so we know that something has happened and that something has been the murder. So we are getting these like notes between the doctor and the patient, which is R. And this is happening in 1954. In this, we are presuming it is Ruse because they are talking about Ruth. They're talking about Agnes. Well, they're talking about Mrs. K, and her name is Agnes Knoop, which is Knoop. So yeah, there's like a little mystery with that. We know something has gone wrong, and how do we get to that part, and how is our main character involved or not involved? I think it's interesting enough. Right now, I feel like everything truly has just been set up, and I think it's going to start to pick up more now. So part 2 kind of takes us roughly to halfway into the book. Where was it? I saw it. I'm always curious how these parts are structured. Like, are we going to change anything, or what's going on with that? But I really feel like we're starting to get into the story a little bit more now. So far, so good. I don't have any strong emotions in any capacity, but I'm overall enjoying it still. Sorry if you can hear the air conditioner, but it is like 3 feet that way, and this is an attic. It's hot up here, but this is a new angle. You can see the shelves on both sides, and that's kind of fun. So I have now made it to part 3. I've been working on my diamond painting and listening to this, and this is a fine book, but it's not specifically one for me. It's really slow and focused on these characters and not their feelings. I don't know. I just feel like the plot is not very fast-paced. It's very slow. I mean, it's a gothic book. That is what it is. And every once in a while those work really well for me. But this one, like, it's not, but it's not. Wait. I don't know. It's okay. None of the characters are super compelling to me, and I think that's the issue. I think in slower stories I can really love them, but I have to be really invested in something, and I'm not. There's been some like strange things that have happened. The way that the plot has gone both make sense and also was not what I was expecting. Our main character has a lot of trauma in her life. The way that her mother treated her was horrific, and she doesn't really know how to move past that and be a real person. She was really neglected and just used for her mom's wishes. So now she's really having issues processing how to have feelings towards other people. This is a sapphic story. Our main character has these feelings for Agnes. Also, it is Roos and Agnes Canoop, but you say the K. So Roos has just really been kind of stilted in her emotional growth growing up, and it's obviously her mom's fault, but not that Agnes is taking advantage of her, but Agnes is still grieving the loss of her husband that she was very close to, and she does have this relationship with Roos, but not in this way that Roos is feeling. Yeah, I don't know. It's not super engaging for me. I don't really care about any of the characters or the plot. Also, sorry if I like stand up too tall, then I'm out of frame. This is how tall I normally am, but I didn't feel like completely readjusting my tripod, so here we are. But yeah, I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. So I am halfway through. Part 3 is significantly longer. I don't know why this is so long. Not that it's that long, but like at this point I can't see why this particular story needs to be this long. So we'll see how it goes, what direction it ends up going in. It might surprise me. Really, it feels like a 3-star at the moment, which is not bad, but I just desperately want to be obsessed with something, and that's not happening this year, and it's not happening with this book. I finished My Darling Dreadful Thing. I'm gonna give this one 3 stars. I liked this one more in concept than in execution. The stuff that it was doing was good, but not my personal taste. I think that's really all I have to say about this one. I feel like it was kind of more of the same stuff. The ending was decent. I did like that. It was a good time while reading it, but also I'm never gonna think about the story, the characters, the plot, like anything about it. I would read more from this author, but I am not going out of my way to do that at this exact moment by any means. So I know that that's kind of an anticlimactic end to all of this, but this whole video has not been great. The thing with the Goodreads Choice Awards is I tend to read a lot of the popular horror throughout the year. So by the time things like this are announced, the stuff that I haven't read, I'm generally not quite as interested in, so I don't like it as much. That's not always the case because the 2023 version of this, I ended up with one of my favorite books of the year, so that's why I like trying things like this, reading things that are more outside of my comfort zone within the genre than I would typically pick up on my own. But I just got a lot of DNFs, 3 stars in this version, sadly, but that is okay. I'm so glad that I did this. I will probably do it again, but hopefully with better results. I am not surprised that everything went like this though, so I don't know what that says about me. If you are also interested in mystery and thriller books, I read all of the Goodreads Choice Awards nominees for that category as well, so I'll have that linked in the description for you. If you've made it to the end and want to leave me an emoji to say you were here, you can leave me a ghost for my darling dreadful thing. If you've read any of these books, I'd love to know your thoughts. I truly loved a lot of the nominees. I had just read them before this video, so let me know your favorites, your least favorites. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.